of leadership. Now, some of this will have to go on into the workshop today, but we'll make sure that we cover with real sincere focus on the philosophical piece of it. You've been getting a lot of practical pieces. Everybody wants to come to one of these events and walk away with that one thing I can do, that special list, maybe those tips and tricks that help me where I'm at. But what works for me in Southern California or in Oregon or Washington may not work for you here, may not work for you in the Philippines or in Taiwan. So what's fundamental? What do we all share that's absolutely true all the time? That would be my definition of fundamental. Not basic. Basic isn't the story, but fundamental means it's always true for everybody, everywhere. So we'll look at that. And then building teams, specifically, what you as a leader can do if you have the handicap of being super talented. I'll say that differently. If you are struggling to build great teams because you are such a great personal performer, there are certain ways you can get out of your own way there. But for the rest of us that are not that, you can learn that absolutely true for everybody in this room, we can all build, attract, recruit, and develop great teams at whatever speed you can get clear about how to unite people around your mission. We'll talk about that. And then we'll get practical steps in that during the breakout. Okay, so here we all are. We're all sitting in this room, and you by yourself represent a set of goals and ambitions and things that you want to be able to do for you and your family. So let's talk about that in fundamental terms. That's true for all of us. What I call a good life for my wife and my kids and my grandkids now, if we're expecting our third, right now in September. And what I call a good life is going to look a little bit different than what each one of you call a good life. But they might have some fundamental characteristics that are the same. And I don't mean a good life like some luxury thing or any of that. I don't mean that. I mean how you define a good life. I was listening to one of our other speakers that's coming up in a little while, and boy, are you in for a treat. And he was describing how his son was telling him that he never goes to sleep without hearing his wife's voice, even if he's on the road. That's a practice, right? That's something we can all copy. It's a part of what he defines as a good life. You can hear it in the way he speaks about it. I love visiting my grandkids, and I love being silly with them on these little video things that they send me, right? They think it's hilarious. I don't even know how to use that stuff, but Sina's going to teach us later how to use that stuff, right? I mean, I use it now. They taught me. They're 2 and 5, and they taught me. Always look for the better leader, right? And so my grandsons are my leaders on that. So here we are by ourselves. Every one of you have a desire to do something that you define for yourself and for your family as a good life. So as you set your goals, here's the thing to think about. You're all setting goals. Every single one of you in here, there's not one of us that isn't doing it. We're setting our goal. We showed up today ready to play because we're setting a goal for something in the future we haven't done yet. Think about that. Everybody in here is coming in, learning and getting equipped, and listening to figure out how can I do something in the future that I haven't done yet. That doesn't matter if you're an athlete, or if you're an educator, or you're right here in this room learning how to build teams. We're all trying to do something we haven't done yet. And it may be at another level, right? You look at people that are in this leadership team here and you go, oh my gosh, I don't know how that person manages 680 people in the new role that he has. I don't know how he does it. But I don't have to know yet, because my team is about 220 people. And I'm just trying to get to the next level. So the next level is always, fundamentally, it's always a strategy. What does that really mean? It means I can't call it a process yet because I haven't done it. So as soon as you successfully do something, now you have something you can build into a process and you can become better at it. So we all plateau. That doesn't mean we're not good enough. It means we don't know enough, and we'll talk more about that. So it's always a mystery, exactly what we have to do. And you have to approach your goals like they're a guess. Strategy is my best guess on how to move forward. But there's a real problem with building strategy by yourself. The only place you can draw from is yourself. And you already know everything you know. right? That's why we get stalemated. We get stuck, and we can't go to the next level because we think we know why we can't go to the next level. Think about yourself. Do you already know why you haven't been able to do something you said you were going to do last year? Do you already think you know why? If you think you know why, you are probably holding yourself there, because it may not be that reason at all. So how do you figure out, how do you break through it? So now let's talk about, we've left your goal for just a minute, and we say, hey, we're going to need some help to get where we want to go. So in America, we'd put out these signs, help wanted, and it would mean that we need somebody to come in and fill a position. Maybe it's to fulfill something that's just a process, but I'd say for all of you in here, help wanted to me and to you means we want the help of somebody who's done something else they make look simple, but I don't know how to do yet. How many of you play a musical instrument? Would you say that just because you know what that instrument is, that the people beside you listening would say you know how to play it? No. There's a difference in levels of performance, no matter what we talk about, that we need to learn from people that have already done it. The people that are really good, you watch the Olympics, the people that are really good make what they're about to do look easy. In fact, so easy, the rest of us sit and watch television and critique them. Like we could, right? So, we're going to move from your goals to now the goals of somebody else. Now this somebody else is somebody else who has dreams and ambitions of how they're going to produce a good life for their family, not you. And that can be sometimes accidentally competitive. Like, what's good for me, if I get what I want, does that mean that you lose? Well, no, of course, you know better than that. So here we're going to talk about building teams where the goals I have for my family can be brought into alignment with the goals that somebody else has for their family. In fact, what happens if we do that, and we surround all of the goals that I have and all the goals you have, what we get is a mission. We get a mission that is big enough to hold both of our concerns for a good life, even though our concerns for a good life are different. Does that make sense to you? So, when I want to get somewhere, I have to be willing to look away from my personal ambition towards somebody else's and say, is that person in alignment with me in a way that allows me to get where I want to go while they get where they want to go? If somebody else wants to get someplace that's meaningful to them and it doesn't conflict with what I want to do, and it doesn't conflict with my mission for my family, we will likely be better together than we could ever be separately, as long as we share values, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. All right, in our firm, we use this expression, a good life for the rest of your life. Helping people produce and support a good life for the rest of their life. We don't try to tell people what a good life is, but we do believe that to have a good life for the rest of your life means you're going to go through some seasons where everything isn't the same, and that's going to require a strategy out of you. You're going to have to do something you've never done before as a client, and as an advisor, and as a leader. You're going to have to do things in the future you've never had to do before because life changes. And as it changes, you have to have great strategy, and that means using other people to help you get where you want to go. So, a good life for the rest of your life is on every one of our lips. When we recruit somebody into our firm, we explain that to them, and we explain that's why we're in it together. And you'll see that it matches up and builds alignment in it with our values. Now, when I was asked to come here, one of the questions that sounded like it was on everybody's mind was teaching the leaders how to focus on retention, right? Now, our firm has pretty good retention, but we heard a lot of this request. Can you come and teach more about retention? Because we've been pretty fortunate on retention, and we hold about a 46% retention after 4 years of the people we hire. That's higher than our national average, and it's higher than our peer group. That's not arrogant. It means we're just more careful with who we choose. In fact, I can't really teach you how to do retention of good people. In fact, all you can do is attract good people. By the time you lose the attraction with them, retention is a lost cause. So what attracts them to join you is the fact that your goals and their goals are not in conflict. And the first thing you have to be clear about is that if somebody's going to follow you, they have to believe that their own future is better following you than somebody else. So that's very fundamental. But we're going to talk about it in practical terms as the time goes along. But I have to lay this foundation of the philosophical first so you understand that it's true for all of us. I don't have to live here or in your town to know this is still true for you. So, as you build a team, every single one of those people, their mission, their personal ambition for a good life has to fit inside the mission you've identified for your team, or they're not a fit. Deciding somebody's not a fit is not easy. It feels personal. We'll talk more about how to make sure that's not the case. But deciding who shouldn't be on your team is every bit as important as who should be on your team. So, the mission is critical. Values come next. Building your team over time, taking a snapshot of maybe some of your agents or some of your staff, what you're going to find is every single one of those people have an ambition for a good life, and that's easier said than served. So, like, my responsibility then is to make sure that I don't let somebody onto the team that creates a fracture with all those people that are following me who believe they can produce a good life for their family just like I want to do for mine. Retention is not an objective. It sounds like one. We want to have a higher number of people survive in the business. We want to recruit them and have them stay. And for business purposes, it's very expensive to have them turn over. But let me tell you, your turnover will increase if you let somebody onto the team that's not a fit. And it won't just be them. It'll be the other people that were trusting you with their future. All right, so attracting great people. There are two things you have to know about everybody. First, the fundamentals, like we just talked about what we all call a good life, we know those things are going to be true all the time. If you want to go further than that, you need to know specifics. If somebody knows the names of my children and my grandchildren, and when we meet together and they're coaching me, if we coach somebody and all we focus on is how they can produce more, that can start to sound like it only matters how I can perform for you. But if they want to know how can they help me spend more time with my grandchildren or my children, how can they help me send my kids to the college that I'd like them to be able to go to, if they know that about me, I'll follow them to the end of the earth. Because they're with me. They're looking out for me. They're not just giving it lip service. They're helping me get where I want to go. And in fact, if we notice somewhere along the way that where they're going and where I need to go are different, that makes it very pleasant to separate. It doesn't have to be bad. So, getting to where you know the specifics of somebody's life is critical. However, if you have a bigger team, it's harder to know the specifics. So when you don't know the specifics of somebody's life, like specifically their spouse, their children, their ambitions, how much they want to earn, where they want to live, all of those things, who's maybe struggled in their family, those things are really personal. Those are specific. If you don't know the specifics, you do know the fundamentals. And you can teach to those, and you can protect the fundamentals of your business with good values. So there are 5 fundamental goals in the area of finance that everybody shares. So first, we're going to talk about career. All of us and all the people who will follow you have career ambitions. They need to know how to make money at this business. If I were to ask you, why do people fail? Why do they get out? You'd have to tell me they don't make enough money fast enough. Because what attracted them in was like dating. It all sounded fantastic. And then they get in and realize this is harder than I thought, right? Isn't that how we watch it happen? And here's the risk. One of the things that really concerns me is when I see a leader, even in our own organization, who starts to think, yeah, but maybe they'll make a little bit of money. And then who's that good for? Well, that's only good for me. That's not good for them. So if I let somebody come in to our team who I don't think really has what it's going to take to make it, I'm only looking out for me, not them. Test your selection process. That's a hard one, guys. I'm not being judgmental about that. I'm saying if you want to know how to get where you want to go, ask yourself, how are you selecting people? Are you selecting people because they might make you money? Or because you believe they can make it and fulfill the dreams they have for their family? That is going to be what helps people decide if they should be with you. And that's what will keep them with you. They'll decide to come with you. We're better at selling this career than anybody. We know how to sell it. The problem is if you're selling it and you're not assessing who they are, you are selling them something you honestly don't believe they're going to be able to do. And everybody will figure that out. Do you know when we do cold interviews, we would say cold interviews like somebody gets cold called or they get a mailer or something like that. It takes us 80 or 90 of those leads to find one that we hire. But most of the people we hire come from the people that already follow us. Those are referrals from the people that are already with us. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a gut check. When you look at your own team, how often does your own team refer you a close friend? Somebody talented. How often do they refer that person to you? Here's an important thing to recognize. They have to make an assessment before they make a referral to you that you can be trusted with their friends' concerns. I have to know before I make a referral to you that I can trust you to care about them the way I care about them. When I hear people say, I ask my reps all the time for referrals, but they don't give me any, do you think that's the problem of the reps or the leader? And by the way, this is not so that I can be judgmental about us, but if you want to go to the next level, you better know. You better know who you are and whether or not you're building that kind of trust. Do people know that you mean it when you say you're going to help somebody get where they want to go? And we're going to talk about how to build that trust. So career is the first thing that you know is going to be true. And finance, there are several categories in finance, and we're going to break these down. The first thing that has to happen in any pursuit of career is we have to learn before we can earn. All right, so what do we have to learn? A lot of our training has to be examined for what it is we think people have to learn in order to be successful. In fact, if we're not careful, a lot of the learning we provide is going to be around subjects like features and benefits of our product. And while that is helpful and important, you must know it, it better not be the only thing you train on. People have to learn how to do things that before they were only familiar with. I'll give you an example. Imagine you're the person that wants to learn how to dance. I saw a bunch of you out there last night. It was fun. Some of you could really cut up the rug. The rest of us just looked like we were having fun. But if you had to do that competitively, let's say somebody showed up on the dance floor and they were dancing and you could tell these were competitors. Do you know the rest of us probably wouldn't have even gotten up? It would have been too big of a difference. And we'd have been like, no, sorry, I can't do that. Like, the reason I was willing to get up is because everybody was having fun and nobody was good. It made me feel much better. Some were better than others. I stayed away from them. So the learning we have to do is things that aren't necessarily just about products and services. It's about social skills. It's about learning how to care about somebody else in a way that's sincere. So people figure that out really quick. So we're going to talk more about what it means, how to break down the learning, how to break down how that affects earnings. And then finally, what we do for consumers is that we teach them how to protect first, always, in our firm, always in this sequence. Protect, save, and invest. Why do we go in that sequence? Well, because if you don't protect first and you immediately start saving money for a future opportunity or for your goals, it sounds like I'm not being sincere, really looking out for your future. Because one bad event, one life event can take away all your savings if you didn't protect first, right? You know that when you buy a home or a car, first thing you do is you put insurance on it. And if you don't, if you had to borrow money, the first thing the bank requires is that you put insurance on it. Because they want to protect first. Right? Protection is fundamental. It's what we do for people. It is how they can be sure that the people they care about can have a good life for the rest of their life. If I am sincere with people, I can't go straight to the easy thing. It's easier to talk to people about saving money and investing money. It's hard to talk about protection. You know why it's hard to talk about protection? Because we are selling something people don't want to have a situation everybody wants. But what we have to sell isn't what they want. It's it's the comfort, it's the peace of mind that they want. And if you start going down the process of teaching people how to sell a product, you're actually sending a message that is the focus and not the ultimate outcome for them. So Now, so that's what we do for our clients. We live in an unusual business, though, because what's really great for all of you, a big luxury that we all have, is the thing that we do every day for our client is exactly what the reps that join us are wanting to do for themselves. And it's what you want to do for yourself. These are inextricably tied. That's not true in any other industry that I know of. If you sell cars, what you want is not the same thing that the client wants, right? Maybe the same car, but that's not the outcome, right? You want to make a living, they want to have a nice drive. But when you make a living here, the evidence of a good living is that you provided safety and future protection and a strategy for other people who also want to live a good life for the rest of their life. All right, so let's talk about learning. So we learn knowledge, but how do we learn it, and what is the proof of knowledge? So this is a tough definition, but I think it's the right one, and I think, at least in our interpretation, and all of these things are interpretations, in our interpretation, learning knowledge requires proof, and proof is that you can do it. Okay? So if I ask you, are you familiar with how to play guitar? Probably everybody here is familiar with how to play the guitar. But until I can hear you make music with it, you have no knowledge. That's fair. But how does that apply to our business? How many of us allow somebody to teach sales to our teams because those people couldn't make it as salespeople? If somebody couldn't sell, why would we let them teach it? That doesn't mean that they're bad. It means it's probably not the best fit. And as a leader, I didn't have the courage to recognize this wouldn't be a good fit then. The people that teach us how to teach our people how to sell, they have to know it to teach it. Otherwise, they'll teach only what they know, and what they know didn't make them good at selling. That's why those of you that are really good at attracting people, you attract people who want to have a similar future that you've already produced. That's a high standard. So, how to build a team? The proof of sales is you can sell. The proof of being a leader is that you can attract a team. And the type of team you attract has to do with how much you know about leadership. So the reason we come to these events, and the reason you hear all the specific details, the tips and tricks, what works in my firm versus somebody else's firm, are rooted in these fundamentals. And I wish somebody had taught me the fundamentals early in my career. I had to kind of learn them the hard way, right? Lots of mistakes. I took some of those people that weren't really good in sales, and I promoted them into a sales trainer because they weren't making a living, and I needed to have them stick around because everybody liked them. We liked them. They fit from a values point of view, but they weren't making a living. And so somehow they got promoted into sales. I made that mistake. So what I learned is that mistake compounds itself if you do that. All right. Proof that you can lead is somebody follows you. Proof that you can double your income means you doubled your income. So as we start to look and say, when do you need a strategy or when do you know what to do? As you set goals, the first thing to recognize is you have to be humble enough to say, I may think I know how to do this, but I'm clear I don't know how to do it. You know why I know I don't know how to do it? I don't know how to take our sales from 30 million a year to 60 million a year, because if I already knew how to do it, we'd already be doing 60 million a year, right? So I don't know how to do it. I think I might have some ideas, but then what I need to do is go find great mentors. And I need to provide great mentors in specific areas of knowledge to my people. If I'm going to hire a marketing director, they better be great. If I'm going to hire an operations person, they need to be great. And every single role you put in your firm is a communication of whether or not you are taking seriously the promise of helping somebody live a good life for the rest of their life. All right. So the first thing to do if you want to accomplish a new goal, and every one of you here has some kind of new goal for this year, I would say you owe it to yourself and your teams to learn from somebody who's already done what you hope to do. Go find somebody currently doing that level. Now, it's tempting to go straight for the top of the business. But honestly, the people at the top of the business kind of forget after a while what it took to go from where you are right now to where you want to be. So find somebody that made that journey and learn a little bit from them. And we're always learning. There has never been a better time in history of the world to be a learner. It's everywhere. It moves fast. I heard somebody in an organization say recently, our problem, always watch out for that statement, our problem. If you have a problem and you think you know what it is, you are probably sticking yourself there. So they said, our problem is we make great training, but we don't get it out to people. All right, newsflash. If something's great, it's already out to people. There's no time delay in great material getting out to people. People do not let great material sit and be wasted. It is viral if it's good. Everybody can get good information now. So if you have a desire to learn something, there is nothing you can't learn. My son, 15 years old, just recently decided he wanted to learn how to play the guitar. I offered to get him lessons. He went in and met the guy that was the best help I knew to find in our town. And I come in the room one night, just by his room, and I hear the earliest semblance of music coming off of his guitar. And I look in his room, and he's got his phone propped up, and there's keys or chords going by on a screen on his phone, and he's following them, and he goes, Dad, I'm almost to the next level. What? The next level? They have gamified his learning experience, and now he can't wait to do it. If I paid for his lessons, I'd have the hardest time getting him to practice. But instead, there's a game on his phone that teaches him how to play the guitar, and now he plays every night. Wait, who knew? You can learn anything today, but strategic learning means, at least in our world, that you're learning to earn. So, unless you plan to make your money as a guitar player, that's not strategic for you, right? In our business, what are you allowing to get into your head? Because I promise you, you learn either way. If you're hanging around with the people that haven't done what you want to do, and they're telling you why they can't do it, you're learning what's holding them back, and you're probably learning how to hold yourself back. If you want to play great, hang around with people that play better than you at whatever it is, especially in this business. And then make learning a practice. Learning is a practice. Learning is a forever thing. We don't stop learning when school's done. That's one of the big myths. We had somebody we were interviewing, and he was a friend of one of my relatives. And I was asking my relative, we were making conversation. I said, so you had any good books that you've read lately about your journey, what you're trying to do? And he goes, what, you think I'm still in college? Like if that's the attitude, then he's holding himself back. Why wouldn't you always be learning and trying to make a practice out of being a competitive learner? So what does it mean to be a competitive learner? Well, look around. There's a lot of learning going on. Competitive learners are strategic. So are you downloading recent training on leadership from people that you admire? Are you learning from, it doesn't have to be from our industry. There's amazing learning going on. If you want to know where our industry is going, look at the forces that are disrupting us. I think Adam Holt touched on it yesterday, right? The consumer is voting for things we aren't providing. If we don't provide them soon, then they will just find another way to get what they're voting for, right? They're voting with their dollars. And Amazon tells them, or whoever your local service is, in our world, Amazon will tell them how fast something should be delivered. Right? YouTube tells them how easy it should be to find what you're looking for. So our industry, we owe it to you and each other to step that up and make a practice out of learning competitively. When you learn, do you watch so that you can be familiar? Or do you watch it 3 or 4 times? Or do you listen? Or do you reread that book 3 or 4 times, underline, take notes, quiz yourself? Do you do it as if you had to compete with the knowledge? Or do you do it like it's fun reading? That'll determine how well and how fast you learn. Okay, earning. Remember, we all need help. But let's be hard about this. There are different kinds of help. And you can look at these two pictures and you can tell that these two groups make very different income. Why is that? Well, simple, right? We already know the answer. The person on the right has been handed a shovel, and as long as they have a good back and some strong arms, they can do that job, but so can everybody else. The people on the left have very specialized knowledge, and it takes a long time to get it. And they were in an environment of competitive learning on their way to getting it. And when they get their job, it's competitive. And so the people on the left are scarce, meaning it's not easy to have that job. And it is not easy to do a great job at this job. And building teams is no different. So everybody here wants to earn more money. It's not magic, and it's not a birthright. There's no magic that makes it so that person got lucky, unless it's a lottery. But in career, this is absolutely fundamental, straightforward stuff that we can learn. There are mechanics to how to learn and earn more. So we're going to go through the mechanics during the breakout session. So my intentions today are to help you learn some of the mechanics of these. In the protect, save, and invest, we're not going to go as deep into that. That's what you already know how to do. I want to help you figure out how to build teams, how to build strategic teams, how to learn what you need to be learning so that your income can grow and your team can get bigger and you can have a better life at it. One of the hardest things to get over is when you look at really strong leaders, you're gonna tend to tell yourself, I'm not sure I could do everything they have to do. Or we try to go into self-improvement. We look at the thing we do really well and the thing we do poorly. And we decide that maybe what we should do is make the thing we do poorly better. Well, that's a long journey. What if the thing I do poorly, I find somebody else who does supremely, and I find a reason for them to be on my team? Now, it's better than if I built the skill. I attracted the skill. Team building is the saving grace of everybody in this room. You don't have to be the best at anything. You have to be a great scout for talent. So, what we do for our clients is the same, whether we live in this part of the world or another part of the world. And the goals and the outcomes are the real product that you're selling. The products we think we sell only help people produce that. Outcomes and goals are what people want. They do not want our product. Let's be honest about that. So, you've all seen this example before. You go to the store to buy a drill, and if somebody's not aware of your real intention, they'll start telling you all the features of the different drills. Everything that's important about what makes them so good. But really, you might say, well, I really want a hole. Like, couldn't they all make a hole? Yeah, but that's not really the mission. The real outcome is I wanted to build a play set for my grandkids. Now, that's something I care about. The rest of it is inconsequential. Let me tell you how you know if you've achieved that. When the client is sitting with you and they go to write the check, and they have to say, who do I make this out to? When they have to ask you that question, they were buying your understanding of what they really cared about. If they start asking you, show me the quotes from the other carriers, show me the features and benefits of the other carriers, what they're saying is, I can't tell the difference in what you care about. I mean, I can't see that you care about what I care about, so I must defend myself now. So tell me everything I need to know to buy from an educated point of view. Whereas, if you were selling somebody a future, and they believe you, and they're with you, and they know you care about your mission, then in fact, by the end of it, when it's time for a product to match, they simply say, who do I make the check out to? That's how you know. So, products produce transactions, outcomes and goals are the opportunity for leadership. So, lead people with the outcomes and goals they care about, and the sales will follow. I'll save the 5 interruptions to living a good life for the workshop, but lead from fundamentals. People will follow you if they can tell you care. In the next section, we'll talk about the actual mechanics of leadership in this business. Our industry has a wealth of good leaders, and so much opportunity. I cannot believe at times when I look at my own life and I think, how did I get from where I started to this, building wealth for my family, when in fact, I look at any other business where you can work hard. My dad worked hard, but he was like the guy on the right in that picture. He worked hard at something anybody could do. Are you helping people recognize that if they work hard at this today and do things that nobody wants to do, they get to live like nobody can tomorrow? I'm never going to be an athlete. I'm never going to be an entertainer. I'm not going to make that kind of money doing those things, and I'm too old to go back to medical school. But I'll tell you, this industry allows every one of us, through a meritocracy, to become great leaders if we understand the mechanics. If we understand how to build a team strategically. The challenge for every one of us is, how do we find those people? How do we attract them into our firm? How do they share a vision of the future with us? Our world is changing so fast, it's very hard to paint a picture of the future. The reason people will follow you is because they know you care about them. And specifically and fundamentally. So, with that, you are in for an amazing conference. We have so many good speakers lined up. I can't wait to hear the rest of them. We'll get into the deep dive on the rest of the session during the breakouts. But thanks for having me again this year. You guys were a lot of fun last night. Congratulations on all your success. Have a great day.
Thanks, KD. Thank you.